Hi, I'm Joe Harroz, president of the University of Oklahoma. I want to welcome you to our Conversations with the President. This platform gives me the chance to talk to some of the great people who make OU so special. Make sure you're subscribed to Conversations with the President, and you'll be the first to know when new episodes are released. Let's get started. Happy New Year's to each of you. Welcome back to the program, and I hope your 2023 is off to a great start. Now, I know that coming into this new year, you're hoping for the next episode. In that, I hope that you watched the last episode. It was an exciting one, and if you haven't watched it yet, please do. Our two guests were the two leaders of the Oklahoma legislature. We had Senate Pro Tem, Mr. Greg Treat, and Speaker of the House, Mr. Charles McCall. Discussed a variety of topics. If you haven't had a chance yet, please do go back and watch it. They each had some remarkable things to say about their personal life and about the state of our state and the university and its role that we play in the life of our state. So hopefully you'll watch that. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating. No other rating will do, whether you watch this on the YouTube channel or on any podcast platform that you have. Now, today's topic continues on that line of individuals that lead our state, that work with the University of Oklahoma to try and positively impact the lives of the citizens of the state, the region, and the country. So today's guest is the recently re-elected governor of the state of Oklahoma, Governor Kevin Stitt. Governor Kevin Stitt is a native of Norman, Oklahoma, went to Norman High School, just finished his first 4-year term as governor, and last night we enjoyed the Oklahoma City inaugural ball. So right now, please welcome the Chief Executive, the Governor of the great state of Oklahoma, Governor Kevin Stitt. All right, here we are. Governor Kevin Stitt, welcome to the show. Absolutely thrilled to have you. It's hard to believe that you've been governor for 4 years, and last night we were at your Oklahoma City inaugural event, did a great job, and after a 19-hour day, you show up here to be on this show. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. It was great celebrating with all my friends in Oklahoma. Thank you to you and Ashley for being there. It meant so much to us, and my family was there, and it's surreal to serve your state and get another chance at 4 more years to continue to serve, and I'm just having a blast.
Yeah, well, it's clear you are, and it's amazing how quickly 4 years goes.
It really is.
I came into this role about 5 months or 6 months into your first term, and so it's been fun to kind of work and grow with you into these roles, and that's really what I wanted to talk about today, was just have a conversation about your experiences over the last 4 years as you think about the next 4 years as we move towards this common cause, this goal that you've articulated well of being a top 10 state. What is the role that OU can play? What role is it playing? How can we expand on it? And sort of your view on that.
Yeah, well, first off, you've been a tremendous partner, and workforce and commerce, I mean, they go hand in hand, and then you got to throw in higher ed there. And every time we are recruiting companies, they always want to talk about workforce. Yeah. And so you've been such a great partner. I mean, when we've called you and you've flown with us out to pitch companies, and I think that unified working together is so important for our state, and we're seeing tremendous benefits right now. Top 10 and people moving to our state. The economy's going really, really well. Most diversified economy in our state's history. We hit lowest unemployment this past summer we've ever seen. So I think that's so important. And then, to me, it's really simple. What are the jobs of tomorrow, and how can we prepare Oklahomans to meet those jobs of tomorrow? So that's higher ed, common ed, and career techs, and aligning them with those jobs in the workforce of tomorrow. And you guys are doing a good job, but I just want to encourage all of us to continue to think like that. Like, what are the jobs that companies are looking for? And then how do we write those curriculums? How do we make sure we have the right majors and kind of look at the things that we probably shouldn't be investing money in, and really put the resources where we can really be top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I've learned over the last 3.5 years in this role and watching you over the last 4 is for us to move forward as a state, it has to be a team effort. That it has to be the top levels of government, the executive branch, the legislative public branch, but the private sector and the research universities and all of education have this role we got to play together. And one of the first stories that you might relate that you told me was, in that first meeting, you walked me through this idea of how do you create this blueprint for success, and how do you actually move into a top 10 spot. And I'd love it if you'd share that conversation because it certainly stuck with me.
Well, one of the things I came from the business world, and you can't be all things to all people. So one of those first meetings that we had, it was you and I think Burns Hargis at the time was the president of OSU, and we all sat down in the conference room, and I said, guys, listen, we're too small of a state to kind of duplicate efforts all over, and then we've got University of Tulsa. I said, let's pick 3 things that we're already really good at that we can really invest in heavily. We can all get behind from the legislature, executive branch, and the higher ed, and really be number 1 in the world at. And so I encourage you guys to go back and come back with 3 ideas that you can be number 1 in the world at. And I just think that's so important. In my opinion, we should not be having a lot of degrees where you graduate 3 or 4 people. Not that those degrees aren't important, but let another university be top 10 in those. Let's really focus on what we're good at. And so, I think OU, I think you came back cancer research. Yeah. We certainly want to continue to invest in that. Weather, radar, engineering, aerospace defense type thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So those are the things I'm encouraged about because we already have Tinker Air Force Base. We already have the National Weather Center. We already have these things that we need to continue to put, to continue to invest in.
Now, you're being too kind to me because, and to Burns Hargis, the former OSU president for that matter, because when you told us to bring 3 back to you, how many did we each bring back to you?
Well, you guys came back with like 6 or 7 because I knew you thought I was kind of joking and you were looking at, maybe if we bring 6 or 7, we can ask for more money from the legislature.
Right. Absolutely. No, you did that. And I got so tickled because you're like, look, pick 3 areas of research where you can be truly world class. And if they're big ideas, they can be investable and we'll back them. We came back with 8 and you were like, no, 8's more than 3. But in a very big way, that had an impact on how we put together our strategic plan. We wound up with 4 research strategic areas. Yeah. A big product of those conversations. And also the idea, which was certainly reflected and is reflected in your cabinet, with how can you apply business principles to areas of government and, in our case, education, that can really give it a competitive advantage. And so those conversations were impactful. We did come back with 3 ultimately, and they've just creeped to 4 now.
Well, it's really good. And the other thing that I love to encourage people to do is we've got to continue to think bigger. I look at Texas A&M, and I think about how big that university's grown. I think they have 60, 70,000 students now. They weren't very dissimilar to the University of Oklahoma or Oklahoma State University 30 years ago. Right. But they really set a vision to have 25,000 engineering students. And they started marching towards that. And so I just want to continue to encourage you to think bigger, and your provost and the different people running your different departments, especially around those 3 areas. Yeah. Let's continue to push the needle and let the world know that you need to come to the University of Oklahoma if you want radar and weather, if you want cancer research, if you want aerospace and defense and engineering. This is the right spot to be. Oklahoma is the best state to be in, and the University of Oklahoma is our flagship university, and we need to let everybody know that. Yeah,
and to trumpet those successes we have. Just this past year, as you know, because you've been a part of those celebrations and a part of them happening, number 1 aviation program in the country, number 1 in the nation in research around atmospheric and weather. Around atmosphere and weather, and those are areas, like you say, to leverage off of. And one thing I want to do, and it's amazing how quickly a few years go by, but I was just getting ready for this. I put together what have you been a part of and signed into law that are around big ideas and big investments, and around those 3 areas where I think we can help. Which is education, certainly, building that workforce you're talking about, around healthcare, and around research and economic development. Let me just read these numbers because they're stunning and they speak to the big ideas and big investments. In education, breaking this into 3 areas: $5 million for engineering, with $13 million more for engineering labs; $1.8 million for nursing, during the nursing crisis, $11 million to bring in and create more education and training for physicians, nurses, and physician specialties. In healthcare, it was $44 million for digital health records. It was $39 million, which your wife was a big part of, around pediatric behavioral health, which was never available in our state, and is currently still not available. But with this amount of money, we're building it. $7.5 million for a pediatric ER that we have to have. $20 million for Stevenson Cancer to bring it to Tulsa to save what will be literally thousands of lives. And then finally, around research and economic development, $20 million for a secured national defense and security building, which currently doesn't exist, but that makes possible. $20 million for phase 2 of the National Weather Center. $5 million more for cancer research. And then, as a product of our of the journeys you let me go on with you, we saw how many companies that want to come here needed to have that workforce, needed not just theoretical engineers but applied engineers. And so you helped put $10 million towards a new polytech in Tulsa, which is key for workforce. So when you look at that, that's just the last 2 years.
It's really exciting. I mean, you just kind of pinch yourself. I'm a fourth generation Oklahoman, grew up here in Norman, and to be part of what's happening in our state and at the University of Oklahoma, it's really special because, those numbers, it's just, you forget all the things that we've done over the years. You get so busy in it, but it's so important, and we're excited to be, a small part of it, and you guys are doing a really, really good job. Well,
it's a partnership. That to me is the reality. One of the things that I've figured out very quickly in this role is that OU as a research university, OSU as well, right? We're necessary for growth, but we're not sufficient, right? It's got to be private sector, universities, government, all not-for-profits, all working together to make this happen. And your leadership there has been felt in big and important ways.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got to tell one great story, which I'm so proud of you on. The hospitals kept coming to me a couple years ago, we need more nurses, and I started doing research and called you. How many nurses are we training at the University of at the Health Science Center? And we found out that we were approving about 250 a year into the nursing program with about 500 applicants.
Right.
And so we kept saying, well, what are we doing with those other 250? And obviously we have clinicals and we have different student to faculty ratios and things like that. But I really encourage you to keep digging in. And if we have somebody that's capable of doing the work and they're Oklahomans and they want to stay here and serve Oklahomans, let's figure out a way to do it. And you remember, but it's been probably 4 or 5 months ago now, we had a press conference at OU Health Science Center. It was me and you and the director there, and you had 500 applicants this year. I think it was 450 to 500 applicants, and you accepted all 500.
Every single qualified applicant.
Every qualified applicant.
Yeah.
And that had never happened before.
No.
And that's just you being a business person, thinking outside the box and saying, hey, guys, these are Oklahomans. They want to be nurses. Let's figure out a way to educate them here. And then you tell me what resources we can help you with. And that's where we can get the legislature excited. Yeah. We can get private industry. Our hospitals get excited about it. We can all partner together to fill a need that we see that we have as citizens of Oklahoma.
Well, to me, that's like a joint success story.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened if you hadn't been pushing on, there are too many that are in the queue. Why can't we educate and train them? And we sat down. People were literally dying because of the nursing shortage.
Yeah.
There aren't enough people to help. And so initially the answer was, well, you can only increase it a little, and we kept pushing. And then Gary Raskob, our new provost there, the dean of the College of Nursing, we just said, why not take every qualified applicant? And people worked around the clock to build that space out. They said it couldn't be done. And these people worked so hard that they made it happen. And over half of those are fast-tracked on 15-month programs.
Yeah.
So they'll be in about 7 or 8 months in the hospitals helping patients.
I love it. I love it. And to brag on Oklahoma Christian University, I just went and did a ribbon cutting for them that they're partnering with the hospital to train nursing techs that are already working in the hospital and trying to get a pathway, an online type program. And so I as governor, what's so cool is I get to see all the different aspects around the state and how it all fits together. And I know we're talking about the University of Oklahoma specifically, but it's so important that we all work together to fill those needs of what the private sector is looking for, what those hospitals are looking for in this case, but really what Boeing and what Tinker and Boeing. I was at the Pentagon, and and met with the Secretary of Air Force, and he just said, Governor, I want you to know we will continue to move jobs to Oklahoma City if you can train the engineers, aerospace engineers, the computer scientists. And so that's where I'm like, okay. And then I get back on the phone with you and I say, here's what they're telling me from a workforce perspective. Let's figure out how we do it here at the University of Oklahoma.
Yeah. And, to me, that's the macro point, though, which is the only way we're going to solve for these big problems is together. And that means that we can't be siloed. We can't be selfish about this belongs to this university, right? We have 2 research universities, and the state needs every single bit of it. Right. We have other universities that fill other areas that we need. And for us to really move forward and really change lives in a fundamental way, it's got to be all of us saying, where can we throw a shoulder into it together?
100%, yeah. Hey, let's compete on the basketball court and let's compete on the football court. When it comes to commerce and business and growing our state and educating our young people, we've got to work together, and we can't duplicate every single thing. And from the governor's perspective, it's easy for me to see that and really keep encouraging everybody to continue to work together and kick those engineers out for Boeing and for Tinker and for our agricultural community around the state, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the engineering program is producing beyond record numbers of engineers because of that leadership and because of those dollars that are flowing to it. So one of my favorite stories is when I came in, there was the conversation about Saab. And you might tell the story about Saab and then what we've done since then.
Well, I don't know exactly which part of the story you're talking
Indiana
about.
was, we were in competition to recruit Saab.
Yeah.
And Indiana picked it up in large part because Purdue was there available to step in.
Yeah, that's right. So it was really Senator Inhofe, myself, and I was brand new elected governor. And I remember, us flying up there, getting on the phone, getting everybody around the table, meeting with Saab. And basically we ultimately lost that deal because of the partnership that Purdue University had. And right then I just said, hey, we got to do something different in Oklahoma. So I started working with Commerce to have a better relationship with our flagship universities so we could show this coordinated effort. And that's when we went and recruited Tomás.
Yeah. Absolutely.
From Purdue to come down to the University of Oklahoma, and he's been amazing.
He has been.
And bringing some more folks down that understand how the relationships works between those research dollars, but also commerce and making sure that we have a unified front. And so, again, you do it very well. You do a great job on the stump with me, recruiting those businesses. They love the University of Oklahoma. And so it's working really well.
Well, it's fun though because we realized Purdue was doing it and they had a good formula. So this is about 3.5 years ago. We decided it might be easier just to go see what we can harvest there. And you helped us land Tomás, who was at the time Chief Strategy Officer. We don't want this getting out to Purdue. And since then, we've picked up their head of data science and their chief fundraising officer. So we found ways to.
Mitch Daniels, he was the governor of Indiana.
Right.
And then became the president of Purdue, and he's just an amazing leader.
Yeah, he is.
He's retired now from Purdue. But yeah, I remember Tomás coming to the governor's mansion when we were pitching him and telling him about Oklahoma. He's going to love it, and we were very fortunate to get him.
Yeah, well, you're a huge part of that. All right, so you've done 4 years. That's flown by. We've got 4 ahead of us. That's going to fly by as well. As you think about what you hope over the next 4 years, campaigns behind you, there are 4 more years to be governor. What do you see as what we can accomplish together and how we can be a part of that role?
If I just take us back just for a second, 4 years ago, and as growing up in Oklahoma, I felt like Oklahoma was not reaching our potential. Other states were passing us by, and we kind of kept asking the question, why are we not, hitting our stride? And I really felt like Oklahoma could do so much better on all these different categories. So I really came with the vision to make Oklahoma a top 10 state and put some confidence that literally we take second place in no other state. This is the right place to go to college, to raise a family, to start a business. We have such a great community here, a great state. I've been to all 50 states, minus Alaska. I haven't been to Alaska yet. And so I know that, and I wanted to bring that in. And so number one, it starts with being the most business-friendly state. And we've cut taxes, we've cut regulation. We're ranked by CNBC as one of the best places to start a business. So that's always something we're going to focus on. And then how do you do that? You've got to make sure we have the best education for our kids. So we've got to have higher standards. We have to have more options. Really excited about the aviation high school in Norman. I went to Norman High School, and we just set up a new aviation school here in Norman that if you want to be an A&P mechanic or a pilot, you can start going to this high school now. And that's the kind of school choice I'm talking about, thinking outside the box. So business climate's got to be number one. Education's got to be number one. Infrastructure, we have to stay ahead of the curve. We've got such a competitive advantage in quality of life and our commute times right now in Oklahoma versus Dallas, Fort Worth, and some of these other major cities. We've got to keep that going. And then healthcare. And that's why I'm so excited about the University of Oklahoma focusing on cancer research, because access to healthcare, the best quality of healthcare, we all want that. Regardless of where you're at on the political spectrum, I tell people that we want these four things. And so as long as I keep focusing on education, the business climate, healthcare, and infrastructure, we're going to move the needle in our state. Yeah. And I tell people, let Washington, D.C. play the politics. We're all Oklahomans. Let's just make our state top 10.
Yeah. And to me, the secret sauce is the people and us working together. It's, to me, that's where, so much of the excitement is the idea of, we've worked really hard on our strategic plan, but it is meaningless unless it intersects with a broader strategic plan that can leverage that piece we can play and be a part of driving everybody forward. To me, it's endlessly exciting.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
All right. So, what does it feel like? I mean, you just finished 3 days of the inaugural ball, right? And you had a race that got frenzied towards the end. And campaigning, from those of us that haven't had the courage to jump in there, it looks frenetic and difficult. You came through it. You won. It's a second term. You finished 3 day, three big city tour on the inaugural ball. What's it like today? When you wake up today, I mean,
I wrote in my journal, and I encourage everybody that's watching, keep a journal. You'll love that, going back 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So I try to keep a journal of my thoughts and what's happening. And, 4 years ago, the excitement of becoming governor, winning, and the inauguration, and just all the newness. And then this time it was really a little bit more introspective. I was really thankful and trying to just take it all in. But I think the biggest change is the newness. What's really cool is God gives us the newness of the day and the newness of the year, and now it's a newness of a new administration. And so I told my team to get today in our senior staff meeting, I go, anything that's happened in the past, let that be gone. Any failures, don't bring those battles into this term. This is all brand new. This is the first day of the rest of our life, and I encourage us, whether you're in school right now, or you're newly married, or you've been married for 25 years, this is the first day of the rest of your life. So let's make today going forward the best it can be. And it's just a new administration. And so I just encourage us all, let's not bring old battles in. Let's turn the page and let's move forward together as Oklahomans. And one thing I did, I called all 39 tribal members and I invited them to the inauguration. And I wanted them to know that, hey, let's move forward together and let's make sure that we've got a successful next 4 years, and we all put ourselves on the best path forward to work together and make Oklahoma a top 10 state.
That's fine. I absolutely love it. I mean, I was thinking about this conversation yesterday as I was listening attentively but all of your speeches yesterday, and I was thinking about what does the next 4 years hold, and I'd had the benefit of cataloging the last couple of years and what the investment looks like and how many successes and also close calls we've had, and I just know over the next 4 years it's going to have a compounding effect. I mean, I look at it, what we're doing in healthcare, and I mean the opportunity to improve the healthcare of Oklahoma is remarkable. And then, picking these research areas, garnering federal research dollars, amplifying it into new businesses and spinning those off to create new economic opportunities, new industries in Oklahoma, focusing on aerospace and defense. I had the new 3-star in from Tinker just last week talking about how do we work together to leverage these assets. And so whether it's it's lifting the caps not just in nursing but in other majors where they've been historically capped. There have been historic caps in medicine. We need more doctors. We've had historic caps in dentistry. We need more dentists. We have to really amplify those growing areas of education and workforce that are huge opportunities. So I just look at it with huge optimism. I'm grateful for all that you're doing for OU and for the state, and just can't wait to partner over the next 4 years.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be great. And being fiscally disciplined over the 4 years has allowed us, because we had almost zero money in savings when I got there. We have $4 billion today. We've been holding these budgets flat, and that allows us, instead of raising base level expenses everywhere, it allows us to strategically invest in certain areas and focus on the taxpayers, but also focus on these strategic investments. And I think you're seeing the benefit of Oklahoma electing a business guy to kind of think through government and invest in some of these strategic ways. And I couldn't do it without the legislature. They do a really good job of partnering with us. And thank you for helping us kind of narrow down where we want to invest in.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? It's a clear strategy. It's teamwork. It's execution, discipline. I think the future's unlimited.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Well, thanks for making time to be on the show. It means a lot. Like I said, I know you've had a long run, 19 hours yesterday, and any regular human would have canceled today's podcast. But thanks for being here.
When Joe Harroz asked me to be here, I'm here, baby.
That's the absolute best. Thanks, Governor.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks so much.
All right. I want to thank Governor Stitt for taking the time to be here as our guest today. As I said, he's had a whirlwind last few days and took time to be with us. As tireless as our students, faculty, and staff work to make the University of Oklahoma remarkable, it's great to know that we have leaders like Governor Stitt that care about the University of Oklahoma and know its place in making our state truly the best it can be. So thanks to our guests. Thanks to each of you for listening to today's episode, and I look forward to you joining us next time for our next conversation with the President. Thanks.